Speaking of which, Josh Norman is with his new squad in Richmond. According to some recent footage, he's got to step his game up. Some surprising camp videos surfaced over the weekend showing receivers Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon beating Norman one-on-one. Some fans, of course, already questioning Norman's huge deal. Darren Woodson in the house. You can speak to this just a little bit.
That is totally unfair.
Yeah?
You're talking about one-on-ones. The one-on-one is structured for the quarterback and wide receiver to win all the time. No pass rush. Quarterback just sits there and pats the ball. The wide receiver runs his route exactly how he wants to run. There's no pressure involved on the quarterback side. We used to get beat like this all the time as a defensive back. I don't care who you are. In one-on-ones, it's set up for the wide receivers to win, and that's totally unfair.
Yeah, one-on-ones, like in the NFL, when Norman's on Odell Beckham, it's set up for the wide receiver to win.
No, that's totally different.
Burnt him all day.
Yeah, but
dropped a couple passes, but
thank you.
Okay,
that doesn't mean.
Okay,
when you
but it's not because Norman was in the. Where was Norman?
That's not getting burned when he dropped the pass.
Where was Norman?
Doesn't matter. Did he drop the ball?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I'm saying to you. With pressure, it's a totally different game. And we saw Josh Norman. Listen, am I saying Josh Norman is the elite of the elite, like Richard Sherman? No.
That's what we want to know. Is he worth this money?
I think he's worth the money. If someone's willing to pay it, yes, you are worth the money.
But you're
Simple
saying
as that.
He's not elite.
No. But if you were a GM and you had to price talent, is he worth being the highest paid corner in the NFL?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But if I am a team like the Washington Redskins and I feel like I need a corner, listen, cornerbacks are just like quarterbacks or just like left tackles. They don't walk around and they don't grow on trees. Right. You have to find a guy that can willingly go 50-50 on the outside and match up with Dez Bryant, Odell Beckham, whoever it is.
You still got to find that guy.
And that's, well, I feel like the Washington Redskins make that decision that said they saw what he did against Odell Beckham, which he played okay. I mean, it wasn't great, but they saw what he did with Dez Bryant, and he shut Dez out for 4 quarters. So that's what you want, and that's what a lot of teams do. They see a guy in a different division or a different conference, and they say, this is how he matched up with certain guys. We want him on this team, and is he worth the $15 million? Yes, he's worth the $15 million to the Washington Redskins.
I don't like this.
Why?
I actually agree with Darren. He's not wrong. Here's the deal, Max. First of all, Josh Norman can play. That's number one. Secondly, Odell Beckham Jr., there's no shame in losing to him. This brother's on another level. We understand he dropped one pass. We understand that there was a couple of times he got open. We understand that he lost his head a little bit, and had that not been the case, it would have been one of those situations where essentially what it would have come down to is that Odell Beckham Jr. may have ended up getting the better of Josh Norman even more so than he actually did. I get all of that. But here's the bottom line. When you look at it, pay attention to what's transpiring. You got Joe Barry and his zone schemes. You've got the fact that Josh Norman is a system player. Now, if you hired him to be a shutdown corner a la Deion Sanders, of course there's a problem. Where I agree with Darren, where we're being unfair to Josh Norman, even though Josh Norman is capable of covering, the reality is that when you looked at Carolina's defense, there was some zone going on. He was assisted. You had the crew, Kuechly and Thomas and the boys. You know, he wasn't alone. In Washington, they gave him that money not just because of his talent, his name, his cachet, and the fact that they needed to buffer their secondary, but also because they knew that they're going to be playing zone schemes. They're going to be employing that. So what you did was grab a guy that you knew you would need, because Breeland being back there by himself, or with an aging D'Angelo Hall who could still play, you needed some assistance. You needed a name. You drafted some kid in the 3rd round to play corner, where you were ultimately able to get rid of Culliver and unload him. So they buffered their secondary because that's a problem. Then you look at Kerrigan and the crew, and you look at this rookie, Preston Smith, who led all rookies with 8 sacks last year. If you're capable of getting to the passer more and you're playing zone, then obviously, like Darren is alluding to, you're going to have a limited amount of time to get at the quarterback. Therefore, you got Josh Norman, who's going to look even better because of that, not to mention the fact that he's going to have help. It's not some kind of matchup with him against Odell Beckham Jr., because if we're being real about it, is there anybody that you know of in the NFL? I don't care whether it's Patrick Patterson, who is a bad boy, whether it's Richard Sherman, or my man Joe Hayden in Cleveland, who don't get enough love, but he gonna get it here because Joe Hayden's a bad boy. Okay, so let's be real. Can anyone up here definitively, and you know your football too, Molly, can anybody sit here right now and say that anybody in the NFL can guard Odell Beckham Jr. by themselves?
No.
One-on-one?
No.
Well, then what's the problem?
Here's the problem. Well, first of all, let me start by saying Josh Norman's a good player. I thought he was a crazy great player, like top 3 defensive player for a while, and then I saw certain things that had me back off that and say, no, this is a zone corner. And don't forget, Washington's the kind of place like Champ Bailey, when they traded Clinton Portis when running backs still had a lot of value, and Portis was like, I mean, like he was just a flash. You couldn't even see. They traded Portis in his prime for Champ Bailey. They value shut-down corners at a point when Champ Bailey was the best corner in the game. That's not what they're getting here. They're not getting a shutdown corner here. Now, I'll even give him some credit as even not to try and just win the argument, that he's more mature than Odell. And the fact that Odell had never dropped a pass where he was targeted and just drops the pass in his career, and he dropped 2 that day, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that Norman applied enough psychological, at least, pressure to Odell that it rattled him. Yeah. And you even hear Odell's comments since then. Odell's still fixated on this dude, and Norman's like, yo, why are you still talking about me? And Odell's the much more famous player and considered even better at his position. I'm not going to argue that. And I also understand if you're going to run zone and different things, he's a very useful player, Josh Norman. I get that. This is my issue. The NFL is a hard cap league. In a hard cap league, the job of a GM before anything else is to properly price commodities. In this case, players. You better be able to put the prices right. You better be able to price that properly, because every dollar you overpay for one guy is a dollar you can't pay for another guy. Now I ask you this. Is Josh Norman worth a $50 million guarantee?
Go ahead, Darren.
Hey, you know what? If the Washington Redskins are willing to pay what they paid him, whatever it is. But listen,
I'm not saying that's not his market value. I'm saying should they have?
I think they
did they properly price him?
Look, come on. I do. I absolutely do. Now listen, I haven't always been a Josh Norman fan. Have not. And it took me until last year to watch from week 6 on to see what kind of player he is. This is what you're getting in Josh Norman. Are you getting a shutdown, follow you around corner? No, you're not getting Patrick Peterson. You're not getting Richard Sherman or maybe Darrelle Revis, but what you are getting is a guy with tremendous confidence, a guy that you feed off of. I've played with players that were half as talented as Josh Norman, but had tremendous confidence, and you feed off of it as a unit. And I thought when you watch Carolina play, Josh Norman was in a huddle, and he saw whoever broke the huddle, Larry Fitzgerald went that way, there went Josh Norman. He's in your face. That's what you want to see in your player. A smart football player that's greedy and wants it.
Here's the deal, y'all. Look at this list here, these dollars. Josh Norman's at number 1, $50 million guaranteed. Patrick Peterson's number 2, $48 million.
I get that.
Joe Hayden, $45 million, number 3. Richard Sherman, $40 million, number 4. Darrelle Revis, number 5, at $39 million. Janoris Jenkins, number 6, $28.8 million. You can make a legitimate argument that there are about 4 corners in the NFL that may be better than Josh Norman.
Absolutely.
Straight up.
Yep.
That's no disrespect to Josh Norman, all right? But let me also take into account, not only are you paying for production, but you also pay for potential, which is something that we try to gloss over, but that's a reality. Josh Norman is 28. Josh Norman is not only 28, but this dude was from some nondescript school in Carolina, Coastal Carolina, if I remember correctly, okay? Worked his way up, worked his way through the practice squad and beyond. He didn't even want to leave Carolina. He just wanted what he thought his worth was, and he wanted them to break the bank for him. Fair enough. What I'm saying to you is that when you are 28 years of age and you went through the terrain that he went through, wasn't the first-round pick, wasn't the seventh-round pick, okay? He went, and you work your way onto a National Football League team and get to a point where you establish yourself from being some nondescript dude on a practice squad to being one of the elite corners in the game, because just because you might not be top 4 don't make you elite.
That's right.
When you combine that with the fact that the need for the team that you went to is similar to the system you played in Carolina. You combine that with the fact that you went from Carolina in the NFC South to the NFC East, where only one team was over 500 and everybody else stuck up the joint and wet the bed. I'm sorry. That justifies the dollars.
Well,
that justifies the
happy
dollars.
he got his money.
I know that. I know that, but I'm saying it justifies
it.
I'm saying it justifies it if you're the Redskins.
Look, I get it. Also, he's the next man up, and this is how it works. Whoever the latest really good player is resets the market.
That's right.
That's generally how it works. I just think if you're going to guarantee the most dollars in the NFL at the position to a corner, that guy should be a shutdown corner. There aren't that many of them, I get it, but I don't think that's Norman.
Well, I'm saying you don't think that's Norman, but my problem is this. Let's look at the Redskins. Let's look at the fact that they're 9-7. Let's look at the fact that they franchise tagged their quarterback at $19.9 million. Let's look at the fact that they were the lone team over 500, that they've been a playoff, that they are a playoff team. Now, they haven't made back-to-back playoff spots since 96, 97, okay? And they haven't, and
they ain't going to do it this time either.
Well, they may not, but we don't know that. We don't know that. Questions about the Giants' defense, no matter how much money they spent. Questions about the Eagles all over. Question about the health and the psyche of your Dallas Cowboys. But they're not knuckleheads, but their actions are indicative of knuckleheadedness. Okay? So you got all of that going on. It's just the truth, Darren. It's just the truth. So I'm just saying, if you look at Washington, you go out, you get Norman. You draft another corner in the 3rd round. You still got Breland, who is elevating, okay? You still got D'Angelo Hall, who is experienced. You got the Ryan Kerrigan. You got a rookie that's got 8 sacks on his docket, backing up Kerrigan. You've got a team with a potential pass rush. Now, they give up with too many yards rushing on the first time. That was their impediment on defense, believe it or not. It wasn't their passing defense. It was the fact that they gave up over 5 yards or a rush on first downs. So you take all of that in consideration. If you're in the process of cleaning this up, which Josh Norman's presence will help assist in that matter, then I think it's a good deal.
If the point is that they are at a moment of like extreme leverage for a player where the right guy can put them over the top, a tipping point, right?
Absolutely.
Like Gladwell can tip them in the right direction, and Norman is that guy, then maybe you can justify the $50 million.
And I'm saying to you, Max,
you better get it done now.
But here's what I'm saying to you, Max. Maybe, just maybe, what you're not saying is what you need to say. The Giants stunk up the joint. The Dallas Cowboys stunk up the joint. Maybe what you're really saying is that the Redskins were somewhat fraudulent because the other teams, including your Giants, to some degree my Giants, were relatively weak, and certainly your Cowboys. Oh, please.
I was surrounded by Giants. I didn't know that.
Please. No, I'm a Steelers guy. I'm a Steelers guy. I'm a New Yorker, but I'm a Steelers guy.
From way back.
Come on, man.
I love my Steelers.
You need to stop.
Big Blue. Who said that? That's not.
The division is up for grabs again, as it always is. All right, you're going to get to
see.
That's right.
You're going to get to see Beckham versus Norman September 25th at MetLife. That one, week 3. Darren, thank you for being here.
By the way,
it's always good to see you.
There's 2 moments in my life as a football fan that are sickest. Number 1 on the list is when Tim Tebow threw that pass to Demarius Thomas against the Steelers in the playoffs. The other is when Neil O'Donnell threw that interception.
Go ahead,
and
give
the
it
Dallas
to us.
Cowboys beat the
That's
Steelers
third
in the
ring.
Super Bowl. Oh, please.
I'll let you wear it.
I never heard of Larry Johnson before or after. But that day, Larry Brown, I'm sorry, Larry Johnson, Larry Brown.
Molly and I have some pretty good memories of recent Giants Super Bowls, too. I can't think of them offhand, but
just a couple.
Remember them undoing the greatest team of all time.
I remember
doing
the
it again.
Giants as well. I remember those days.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Man, it's time for you to go.
Let's leave it there.
Guys,
Thank you, Darren. You didn't think we could get through this whole show without addressing Draymond Green. Well, he found himself in another compromising situation over the weekend, sending out an inappropriate Snapchat picture. We will react to that and how it could affect his future when we come back.
I don't know this Max Kelvin. I don't know you right now.
I get it. He's famous. What have you done with Stephen A. Smith?
Your boys can't come over your house.
I'd like to lick the tears off their faces like Scott Pennerman.
Damn.
People blowing me up on Twitter.
It's the truth. Period.
Me.
And last point is this.
That's a blunt.
Stay off the weed.
We got a little Warriors in here. The greatest obstacle right now in LeBron's quest for more rings has to be the Warriors. Among Golden State's newly minted Big Four, Klay Thompson's name is the one that repeatedly comes up when talking reduced roles. While talk of sacrifice seems natural, it doesn't seem to be a word that sits well with Mr. Thompson, who told The Vertical, quote, I feel kind of disrespected that people keep using the term sacrifice to describe me and describe us. But I'm not sacrificing because my game isn't
what does that beep
changing.
mean?
I think it was poo.
That beep?
I believe it was poo.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Okay, he's on a team And he's saying he's not sacrificing anything. Do you have a problem with that?
I have no problem at all with that. I'm glad that...
In August, he's saying it.
I'm glad he's saying it. Because, excuse you, Sean Merriman, you want to go somewhere?
No.
We can do this. He looked at me like I stole something.
Look, why are you saying it publicly? That's my only problem. Why are you saying it publicly, knowing that as soon as people come into the season, we've already got controversy? If you feel that way, keep it to yourself. And trust me, the ball ain't the only thing he's going to be sharing. He's going to be sharing the camera action, the PR. He's going to be sharing the star role.
I don't know how far you're going to dig this hole because I can't get you out of it, brother. Klay Thompson is a historian of the game. He just repeated what anyone who watches basketball already knows. Let's go back to the first super team that I witnessed. In the 80s, Showtime Lakers, when you got Magic, Kareem, Byron Scott, and James Worthy. And excuse me, I don't think I saw much of sacrificing from any of those guys. Those guys all got their shots. They all got their shine. They all got their titles.
That team was bred.
No, but you know what? It's not all bred because you talk about the fact that they added guys like a Michael Thompson and they added #1 overall picks. They added Jamal Wilkes. They had enough presence and chemistry to respect that the guy with the open shot is the guy who's going to take the shot. That's what Klay Thompson's talking about.
Hey, listen. Kevin Durant in OKC, he was the last person named coming off the bench. That's what always the biggest star. Now that's over, my man. You might not even be the second to last dude. That's a sacrifice.
That's all right.
Okay, and everybody thinks that they're going to get together and everything's going to be hunky-dory.
Yeah, I'm with you on
There's
this.
a learning curve for every team.
There's gonna be a minute.
And bringing it back to LeBron James, Kevin Durant, the reason why he's doing this is because LeBron James, who ain't Jordan, set this friends and family tone up. He invented this playbook, and Kevin Durant made the fault. I think he made a mistake by following your guys' playbook.
But, like, here's what I understand. Why are you saying this in August when you know that the game is going to change a little bit? Your team's play is going to change a little bit. And when it does, we're all going to be like, well, you're getting fewer shots, Klay. It looks like something's going on.
But let's go back to the math, the simple math of, look, you lost Barnes, you lost Barbosa, you lost Ezeli, you lost others. That's 28 shots right there that are absent from this team. Guess who shoots only 20 times a game? One Kevin Durant. So if Durant could just go in there already before he even changes the game plan and said, I can take these shots and you guys won't even feel the difference. Klay knows that. That's why he's saying
five seconds left in the game. Who takes a shot?
Who's open? That's how simple it'll be. So have you watched Team USA in their exhition games?
That's different, though.
That's what this team is. It's a super team.
That's different, though. That's different. Team USA, you know what you're getting into.
But it is true. The Golden State Warriors, unlike any other team, really have options for that last shot.
Options.
Not a lot of teams have options.
But then last year they had 3 options. Now they have 4. It could be an issue. We're acting like Draymond is not an option. Draymond, my man Penis,
He's a scorer.
my man Snapchat. His nickname should be Snapchat.
It is
His
Snapchat.
nickname should be Snapchat. I tell you, you can take that from
What are you
me.
laughing at?
Two-tone.
Two-tone.
After leaving Denver. Oh, Lord. Brock Osweiler probably thought
That was
comparisons
my man here.
to a Hall of Fame quarterback was over, right? Wrong. New city, new dig, same old comparisons. We will explain.
Oh, man, Sports Nation, I think we're still on.
Sports Nation is presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Welcome back to Sports Nation, presented by Toyota.
Welcome back. Time to talk a little NFL. Oh, yeah, with It's Gonna Be Me. That's In Sync, kids. Look it up. In an interview with the Houston Chronicle, Brock Osweiler talked about what it was like working in the Texans offense under former Patriots offensive coordinator and current Texans head coach Bill O'Brien. Quote, they refer to Tom Brady a lot. With all due respect to Coach O'Brien and Coach Godsey, I've told them I'm going to be me. I'm not here to be a puppet, if you will. I'm going to be who I am and believe in what I bring to the table every day. This is exactly what you were talking about before.
Get him, Merriman.
But Brock Osweiler?
I don't like player comparisons. I just hate them. And I understand that you coach, you know, Tom Brady, one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback ever. But every time I make a good or bad play, don't bring up Tom Brady's name. Don't tell me how Tom Brady's studying habits. Well, oh, by the way, Tom Brady used to be in here at 6:58 every morning. You should be here at 6:58. So after a certain point in time, it's like, Coach, like let me be me. Let me do me. If you keep bringing up Tom Brady, how will you ever? You can't match what he did on the field.
But what if you is lousy and they're just trying to give you inspiration to be better?
I get it, but you're not helping me. I make a bad play. Hey, Tom Brady would have made that play. I don't want to hear. Don't tell me Tom Brady would have made that play out there.
Like, you can understand their spirit because he's their Tom Brady was their prized possession. So of course you want to always keep that trophy and that man on the wall. However, when you're talking to me, Coach, let's not limit ourselves by what you've seen. But how about have some faith in me and seeing what I could become?
Right.
And if Tom Brady would have done the same thing that these coaches are preaching, Tom Brady would have said, if I could be like Drew Bledsoe. And no shots at Drew Bledsoe, who was a great quarterback, but he surpassed him.
Exactly.
So guess what? Don't you limit me, you are wrong. Don't you limit me by what you've seen, because Tom Brady became more than that. And last thing, let's say this. At the same time in their career when they both were drafted, one Brock Osweiler had more talent and expectations placed on him than even Tom Brady did. So there's something in there you can stir up and make great.
But let's fast forward 4 or 5 years. Let's say Brock Osweiler has a pretty decent run. All of a sudden, he's not going to be so bothered by these Tom Brady comparisons, right? He just wants to establish something.
You know what Brock is telling him? Yo, I got a $72 million contract. I don't want to be compared to anybody, okay? When you talk about coming in there at 6:58 in the morning, he was messing with the Bulls at 6:54 in the morning. So leave it alone. But that's that $37 million guarantee talking. And Brock is like, yo, I'm the big Brock on this street, okay? I'm the guy here. I'm sick and tired of standing behind other people's shadows and Mannings and Brady's. Let me do my thing.
Yeah, I mean, you need that kind of freedom and that kind of latitude to be exactly who you can become. And the coach should know that. Coach shouldn't be compared to Belichick. What if Brock was like, won't you act like Belichick?
Belichick would have made that call. Yeah. He wouldn't have messed that one up.
Yeah, why are you coming in here dressed? You should be coming in here dressed like a homeless person. Belichick comes in here dressed like he escaped the homeless shelter.
I'm just saying, if this doesn't pan out, this is going to be a quote we come back to. That's all I'm saying.
You know it.
It probably won't pan out. Let's be honest.
That's what I'm saying. Try not to be negative today. Dodgers and Yasiel Puig have had a pretty rocky relationship over the years, and it seems as though L.A. finally moving on from their outfielder. Here's Puig's agent on his current situation. The club informed me and the player understood clearly that they were making every effort to trade him, and that if they were unable to come to terms with another club on a trade and successful in acquiring another outfielder, that he likely would be demoted. He gets paid a lot of money, Marcellus.
Yeah, he does.
And we have the benefit, I suppose, of being on the West Coast, so we have been here from the minute Yasiel Puig sort of took over this town. This is insane, this fall from grace.
It is. And you know, being candid, I know Puig, and I saw from day one what they did to him. They beat him up. They broke him, and now they're trying to trade away. When I'm talking about the Dodgers organization, I'm talking about that in an alignment with the media and those gatekeepers of baseball's culture. So now all of a sudden you want to trade away the scraps that you have just damned for the last few years, and nobody wants to buy it because you guys have let in-house problems become public knowledge just because a lot of the people of the culture wanted to say he's not playing baseball the right way. What did that really mean in code? And we know what it was. This was a raw talent who actually played the game better when he was not coached in the American baseball culture. And as soon as they got their hands on him, and as soon as they tried to tell him, you need to play this way, we saw his numbers decline every single year.
Was it play or behave a certain way?
It was both. It was both. It was playoff games when they were trying to tell him to come in, and he trusted in his athletic ability, but instead that resistance made a ball drop or him not hitting the right throw or the cutoff man. Things like that, as you know, Merriman, if you got a certain natural play and a natural move, and coach says, it works for you,
overcoaching,
but we don't want to do it, all of a sudden the overcoaching kicks in and you start to lose.
Is this not like marrying a stripper and then getting mad she's still a stripper?
No,
like you met her at the strip club, she was doing that.
No, this is way worse.
Why do you want to change it?
This is way worse. No, you know what? That's a good point. This is way worse.
I'm just saying, he was.
You know what I hope that Puig doesn't happen to Puig. I hope he's able to bounce back from this because coaches and the organization sometimes can kill a player's career. And I'm not just saying the way they play the game, but this is a hard. If you go back to the minor league and guys, your teammates and the fans and you're on the team and you're going as being up here on the mountain and now they're sending you all the way back. It can crack your ego. It can send you backwards as a player. So if you can't bounce back emotionally, if you can't bounce back mentally, this can alter a young talented guy's career, and you hope that you don't see something like this happen.
Let me add to that. I mean, you've seen this in the organization. We've seen it in the league. When they don't make you, and that could mean a lot of things, they want to break you. And that's what's happening to Puig right now. They couldn't construct him in the mirror image they wanted. And all of a sudden, now he's a broken piece.
That's terrible, man. That's terrible.
I know, it's
But the stripper, get marrying the stripper, that's, yo.
Back to the NFL.
And this is still worse.
Like you know? Oh, Amari Cooper, a pretty successful rookie season in the NFL. When asked about the biggest difference between NFL defensive backs and those he played against in the SEC, he had the following to say. The talent level, to me, probably is about the same coming from the SEC, but NFL DBs are smarter, so it makes them better. All right, we've talked about this quote all morning amongst the crew here. What is he saying?
Something ignorant that I don't understand.
Well, he's saying smarter makes them better, and so obviously he...
But the talent's the same.
Yeah, what are you talking about, my man?
Does he remember day one of training camp when you walked in there and you were a fully grown man already making money and making Pro Bowls and all pros, and you saw that dude that came from the SEC, and you saw him on day one, you're like, boy, you got a lot to learn and a lot to grow into this position. Physically, you don't even have your man bones, your man strength. This is that same dumb argument that we hear all the time. Alabama could beat Tennessee. Alabama could beat Tennessee last year.
We do that every year, by the way.
Let me show them a thing or two. You know, I get it. I understand the talent level. I think at any big school, the SEC or Big Ten, I mean, you go anywhere, the talent is going to be up there. But it's always how smart can you transition from college to the pros. So it doesn't really make any sense to me. I get what he's trying to say, but that's what separates a lot of these guys. Think of all the All-Americans when in college, the first team, second team, they all everything, and they get to the pros, and you don't hear about them anymore. They can't transition. So if you're going to an SEC school, you're going to a Big Ten school, whatever it is, and you're going to play, of course you can play in the NFL. I mean, you just can't transition mentally to that game.
Wouldn't the logic be that if the talent was equal, that every single player out of the SEC that wanted to play still would be in the NFL?
Be in the NFL. Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at Alabama or any of the great schools, at most you got 10 guys who could make it to the league. Guess what on every NFL team is? 53 of them dudes. What are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about? You're not getting picked in my fantasy draft, Amari.
That's a threat.
Yeah, no, that's a promise. That's a promise. Okay?
I feel bad for Cooper.
I skip over you now, Cooper.
We'll be back. Oh, but first, a little Stephen Colbert.
Speaking of things that happen every 4 years and are filled with poop, the 2016 Rio Games start on Friday, and there are some concerns about the games. Athletes who have to swim in the heavily polluted Guanabara Bay have been warned by health experts to keep their mouths closed in the toxic stew. Okay, swimmers, mouth closed, all right? Or swim with your head out of the water. I can't wait to see who takes home the gold in the Olympic doggy paddle.